Story 1. It was the summer of my 8th grade year, a time of anticipation as I prepared to transition into high school. Those few months of freedom felt like a blissful eternity, filled with video games, sleep, and basketball games with friends. It was during this summer that a unique opportunity presented itself, an entire week alone at home. My parents trusted me implicitly, considering me a responsible and mature kid. To us, it didn't seem like a big deal. After all, I had my cell phone and access to my dad's credit card for emergencies. I was genuinely excited to have the house to myself, and little did I know the horror that awaited. Looking back, some people argue that it was irresponsible of my family to leave a barely 14-year-old alone for such an extended period. However, we didn't expect anything bad to happen, and neither did I. It was an extraordinary circumstance, and my parents rarely left me alone for so long. In fact, even now, at 19 years old, I still live with them. Ever since that fateful day, I haven't been home alone for more than 24 hours at a time. It was a Friday night, around 11 p.m, when my phone chimed, indicating a new text message from an unknown number. Curious, I read the message. It simply said, "Hey." I responded, asking who they were, and their reaction was unexpectedly hostile and passive-aggressive. They berated me for not recognizing their identity. And despite my apologies and explanation about losing contacts on my new phone, their annoyance persisted. I assumed it was someone I knew playing a prank on me, so I silenced my phone and resumed playing my beloved PlayStation. After about 10 minutes or so, I heard a faint knock on my bedroom window. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but a creeping paranoia urged me to investigate. I cautiously pulled back the blinds, peering into the darkness. No one was there, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It was as if a foreboding sense of impending danger loomed over me, suffocating the air. I surveyed the house through various windows, hoping to catch a glimpse of anyone, but to no avail. Nevertheless, an eerie atmosphere settled, as though something terrible was about to unfold. Fearing the worst, I reached for my phone to call my mom. To my dismay, I discovered that I had no service, a rare occurrence in our area, where cell reception was usually excellent. Panic coursed through my veins as I realized I had no means of contacting anyone. I felt utterly helpless. As I contemplated sending a message over Wi-Fi, I realized that the person who had been texting me wasn't using an iOS device, rendering iMessage useless. Anxiety consumed me, and I paced back and forth in the living room, desperately attempting to regain a signal. Suddenly, I heard noises emanating from outside, the direction of our back patio. My instincts drove me toward the sound, hoping to discern its origin. Straining my ears, I listened intently, and amidst the silence, I heard a chilling cry for help, agonizing screams that pierced the night. My heart pounded in my chest, and every fiber of my being screamed danger. The voice was pleading for assistance, and I couldn't ignore the dire situation unfolding before me. Though I had planned to defend myself against the harasser, I also felt a responsibility to help whoever was in distress. I had received boxing training and believed I could handle myself. This was my chance to stand up against the torment. Swallowing my fear, I stepped outside into the darkness. The only sound accompanying me was the chorus of crickets. I yelled into the night. Despite the passage of time, the traumatic events of that night continued to haunt me. The incident weighed heavily on my mind, and I found it increasingly difficult to trust others or feel safe in my own home. Nightmares became a regular occurrence, each one vividly replaying the horror I had experienced. My parents did their best to support me through therapy and counseling, recognizing the profound impact the incident had on my mental well-being. However, it was an arduous journey to heal the wounds that were left behind. The fear lingered, casting a shadow over my daily life. As I entered high school, I became withdrawn and isolated. I struggled to connect with my peers, always feeling like an outsider burdened by a dark secret. The weight of the guilt I carried, even though it was an act of self-defense, consumed me. The whispers and stares from classmates only intensified my anguish, while my family and close friends remained supportive. The scars from that fateful night were deep. Trust was shattered, and a profound sense of vulnerability plagued me. The once carefree and optimistic teenager was replaced by someone who constantly looked over their shoulder, hyper-aware of the dangers lurking in the world. With time, therapy, and the unwavering support of loved ones, I slowly began to rebuild my life. I found solace in creative outlets, expressing my emotions through writing and art. It became a cathartic process, allowing me to process my trauma and find glimpses of hope amidst the darkness. I also dedicated myself to studying self-defense and personal safety, determined to never again be caught in a position of helplessness. It was a way to regain control and empower myself, channeling my fear into a proactive approach to protect myself and others. Despite the progress I made, the incident continued to cast its long shadow over my relationships and my sense of self. It became a defining chapter in my life, shaping my perspective and approach to the world. However, I refused to let it define me completely. As the years passed, I carried the lessons learned from that night with me. I became an advocate for personal safety, sharing my story to raise awareness and promote self-defense education. I joined support groups for survivors of trauma, finding solace in connecting with others who had faced similar challenges. While the scars would always be a reminder of what happened, I discovered resilience within myself. I gradually learned to trust again, to let people in, and to believe in the possibility of healing. The journey was arduous, but I refused to let fear control my life. Today, as I reflect upon that harrowing night, I am reminded of the strength and courage that emerged from the darkness. The incident may have stolen my innocence, but it also ignited a fierce determination to live a life driven by resilience and compassion. I continue to carry the weight of that experience, but I have transformed it into a force that propels me forward. I embrace each day with gratitude, cherishing the moments of joy and finding purpose in helping others overcome their own struggles. The horror story that unfolded in my 8th grade summer has become a part of me, woven into the fabric of my existence. It is a reminder that even in the face of unspeakable fear, there is a flicker of light that can guide us out of the shadows and towards healing, growth, and ultimately a renewed sense of hope. Story 2. Approximately 10 years ago. When I was 15 years old, sleepovers with friends were one of my favorite things to do. Given the strained atmosphere at my own home and a sense of embarrassment about my family, I often sought solace in spending nights at my friends' houses. This particular incident occurred on a sudden night when I was staying at my friend Chase's house. Chase's parents were well off, and their home was an inviting place to be. Whenever I visited, we would engage in a wide range of activities. Chase's dad had a basement man cave that was the epitome of entertainment, featuring a massive 65-inch TV, a pool table, a foosball table, and even a hot tub. Some of my fondest memories were created there, and to this day, Chase and I remain close friends. However, not everything was sunshine and rainbows. Together, we endured some seriously wild experiences. It was around 8 o'clock in the evening when we found ourselves in the basement, our usual hangout spot, goofing off and having a great time. Suddenly, Chase's dad descended the stairs to inform us that he and Chase's mom had a family emergency and wouldn't return until the early hours of the morning, around 4 o'clock. Given our tendency to pull all-nighters on weekends, we didn't mind their absence. In fact, we were ecstatic at the prospect of having the house to ourselves, free from parental supervision. The initial burst of excitement, however, was short-lived. Alone in the house together, we headed upstairs to raid the kitchen for snacks and indulged in a feast. Returning to the basement, we entertained ourselves with a dirt bike racing video game until boredom set in. Eventually, we resorted to lounging on the couch, engrossed in our phones and occasionally glancing at a horror movie playing in the background. As I settled into the familiar routine of a sleepover, a sense of unease began to wash over me. It wasn't the usual homesickness or anxiety I occasionally experienced when staying at a friend's place. This feeling of dread was different, more intense. Attempting to dismiss it as an overreaction, I lay back down and resumed scrolling on my phone, gradually drifting off to sleep. In what felt like mere minutes, I jolted awake to the sound of a door creaking open slowly. It was the door to the basement's laundry room. Peeking over the couch, I was met with a terrifying sight. The door stood wide open, revealing a pitch-black void that sent chills down my spine. I strained to see inside but found only darkness, unable to discern anything within. Part of me desperately hoped it was a figment of my imagination, a trick played by my mind or a vivid dream. However, deep down, I knew it was real. I had witnessed the door opening on its own, heard the creaking sound. Fear clenched at my heart, and I knew I had to wake Chase. "Chase, hey bro, wake up," I whispered urgently. He stirred slightly, but it was clear he was still mostly asleep, unaware of my presence or the urgency in my voice. I had to physically shake him to rouse him from his slumber. Trembling, I recounted what had just transpired, hoping he would understand the gravity of the situation. In his drowsy state, Chase dismissed my concerns, assuring me that such occurrences were common and that I should relax and go back to sleep. While his nonchalant response offered some comfort, it failed to alleviate my discomfort entirely. The thought of sleeping downstairs with the door ominously ajar was deeply unsettling. Reluctantly, we both walked over to the laundry room door and closed it ourselves, trying to regain a sense of security. Afterward, we returned to our respective spots and attempted to resume our interrupted slumber. Chase, unaffected by the recent events, quickly drifted back to sleep, leaving me alone with my thoughts. Despite my best efforts to convince myself that it was just a momentary scare, I couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. The room felt heavy, as if an invisible presence lingered in the air. I lay there, my eyes fixed on the ceiling, trying to push away the nagging sense of dread. Eventually, exhaustion overwhelmed me, and I succumbed to sleep once again. But this time, when I awoke, it wasn't the sound of a door creaking that startled me. It was a sight that froze me in terror. Standing behind the couch, right above Chase, was a man. He held a knife, and his gaze, disconnected and unsettling, bore into our souls. A scream erupted from the depths of my being, piercing the silence of the night. Chase awoke abruptly, his eyes widening as he registered the presence of the intruder. Fear paralyzed us both, rendering us incapable of movement. The man, his sickly appearance accentuated by a disturbing expression, tightened his grip around Chase's neck, attempting to snuff out his life. Panic surged through my veins, and I knew we had to escape. Summoning every ounce of courage, I seized a nearby sports trophy and swung it forcefully at the intruder's head. The blow connected, and the man crumpled to the ground, momentarily incapacitated. It was our chance to flee. Without hesitation, we sprinted toward the nearest exit, the staircase leading upstairs. I opted for the safety of the outdoors, while Chase raced upstairs, seeking refuge. As I burst outside, gasping for air, I fumbled for my phone, trembling fingers dialing emergency services. I relayed the address, describing the break-in and the danger Chase was still facing. Heart pounding, I re-entered the house through the same door I had exited, the silence enveloping me. It felt unnaturally quiet, and a sense of foreboding settled deep within my bones. Suppressing the queasy feeling, I ascended the stairs, each step producing a faint creak that felt deafening in the silence. And then I heard it, the agonizing, gut-wrenching scream that echoed through the house. Chase's cry for help pierced the air, a desperate plea that seemed to go on forever. Adrenaline surged through my veins as I sprinted toward his location, terror urging me forward. The scene that greeted me at the top of the stairs will forever be etched in my memory, a struggle for life unfolding before my eyes. The intruder had cornered Chase, his hands wrapped tightly around his neck, choking the life out of him. Time stood still as my mind raced, searching for a way to save my friend. Spotting a nearby trophy shelf, I seized another trophy and, without hesitation, brought it crashing down upon the assailant's head. He crumpled to the floor once more, granting us a momentary reprieve. Seizing the opportunity, Chase and I fled outside, seeking refuge in his treehouse until the authorities arrived. Minutes stretched into an eternity as we clung to each other, our hearts pounding in unison, our breaths ragged. Finally, the sound of approaching sirens shattered the stillness of the night, and a glimmer of hope washed over us. When the police arrived, the intruder had vanished without a trace. Despite our detailed descriptions and the information we provided, the authorities were unable to apprehend the intruder. He remained at large, his identity and motives shrouded in mystery. It was a bitter pill to swallow, knowing that he could still be out there, posing a threat to others. In the aftermath of the terrifying ordeal, Chase and I found ourselves grappling with a mix of emotions. Relief washed over us, knowing we had escaped with our lives, but the trauma lingered, leaving its indelible mark. We sought solace in each other's company, offering support and understanding as we processed the events that unfolded. The incident brought Chase's family closer together, prompting them to fortify their home security and take extra precautions to ensure their safety. It also prompted conversations about personal safety and the importance of being vigilant, even within the confines of familiar spaces. As the years passed, Chase and I remained steadfast friends, our bond forged through shared experiences and the resilience we demonstrated that fateful night. We became advocates for personal safety and frequently shared our story as a cautionary tale, urging others to prioritize their well-being and trust their instincts. Though time had a way of dulling the sharp edges of our memories, there was always a lingering sense of unease when we reminisced about that night. The man's face, with its hauntingly disconnected expression, haunted our dreams and seeped into our subconscious. It was a long and arduous journey, but with time, patience, and professional guidance, we gradually regained a sense of normalcy and learned to cope with the aftermath of the horrifying encounter. To this day, we remain vigilant, always mindful of our surroundings and committed to ensuring our personal safety. The incident served as a stark reminder that danger can lurk in unexpected places, and it underscored the importance of maintaining a sense of awareness and preparedness in the face of potential threats. While the man who invaded Chase's home that night may have eluded capture, we hold on to the hope that justice will one day prevail. Our experience serves as a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the resilience we possess when confronted with unimaginable horrors. But amidst the lingering fear and unanswered questions, we strive to embrace life, cherishing each moment and nurturing the bonds of friendship that helped us weather the storm. Our shared journey through that nightmarish ordeal solidified our bond, reminding us of the power of resilience, love, and unwavering support in the face of darkness. Story 3. Before I made the decision to move to Indiana with my girlfriend Leslie, I resided on a ranch in the remote town of Hartville, Wyoming. This small, tight-knit community boasted a population of barely 50 individuals, with a significant portion being members of my own family. Growing up without my mother, who had passed away from heart disease, left a void in our lives. Her absence was deeply felt, as she had brought immeasurable joy and love to our family. Amongst my relatives, I had 3 brothers, a sister, and my father, with a handful of aunts, uncles, and 1 cousin residing nearby. Leaving them behind to embark on my own path was bittersweet, as I had always dreamt of the bustling city life and pursuing a career as a veterinarian. However, Leslie and I shared a strong bond from the moment we met, and what initially began as a long-distance relationship blossomed into an 8-year marriage filled with love and unwavering support. Our initial weeks in Indiana were filled with excitement and a sense of new beginnings. Though I missed my family back in Wyoming, everything seemed to align perfectly, and happiness permeated every aspect of my life. Leslie had recently purchased a house, and I joined her there, leaving behind the desolate solitude of my previous home. Unlike the isolated ranch in Wyoming, our new residence in Indiana was situated closer to civilization, only a short 5-minute drive from the nearest city. Yet, amidst the joy and optimism, we faced a significant challenge: the unsettling history and eerie rumors surrounding our new house. Some of the stories circulating were grounded in truth, supported by the experiences of previous residents who had fallen victim to break-ins over the past 2 decades. Our neighbors confirmed these incidents, and their accounts only deepened our concern. Additionally, Leslie had mentioned seeing a mysterious man lurking around the property on 3 separate occasions before my arrival. Each time, he would approach the house during daylight hours, casting menacing gazes through the kitchen or dining room window. Despite reporting these incidents to the police, the man always vanished before they could apprehend him. Rural areas often boast kind and friendly inhabitants, predominantly composed of elderly individuals or families with children. However, there exists the occasional outlier, a true oddball. The countryside provides refuge for individuals seeking anonymity, including sex offenders or drug users trying to evade the law or society's scrutiny. Needless to say, the presence of this unknown man deeply troubled both Leslie and me, as his actions were understandably unsettling. Though I wasn't scared per se, I remained concerned. It was impossible to predict the intentions or capabilities of a stranger. To assuage our fears, I assured Leslie that we would be safe. I possessed a pump-action shotgun, a .45 handgun, a revolver, and an assortment of knives and daggers, providing us with a sense of security. One fateful night, while we were engrossed in a movie and drifting off to sleep in the living room, an unexpected, thunderous knock jolted us awake. Startled, I swiftly retrieved my shotgun from the closet, bracing myself for the worst. Peering through the blinds, I caught sight of the man, and Leslie confirmed that he was the same stranger who had repeatedly intruded upon our property. At this point, he remained oblivious to our presence. Summoning my courage, I opened the front door, preparing myself for confrontation. But to our astonishment, he vanished into thin air. Stepping outside, I thought I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye. Instructing Leslie to retrieve the .45 handgun and wait in our bedroom, I scanned the surroundings, calling out to the intruder, urging him to reveal himself. That's when I noticed something amiss. The side door of our seldom-used shed was wide open. Suspicion gnawed at me as I cautiously approached the shed, the faint sound of shuffling emanating from within. The absence of light made it impossible to discern what lay inside. Determined not to alert the intruder, I refrained from making a sound, observing and strategizing my next move. Yet, consumed by a mix of anger and concern for Leslie's safety, I couldn't suppress my impatience any longer. The man's persistent harassment had crossed a line, and I refused to let him get away with it. I reluctantly abandoned my stealthy approach and braced myself for the worst-case scenario. Taking a step forward, I unintentionally triggered the shotgun, its deafening blast shattering the eerie silence. The man, now only 10 feet away from me, seemed unfazed. Panic washed over me as he continued his relentless advance. Without hesitation, I pumped the shotgun, its metallic click echoing in the night air. The confrontation had reached a critical juncture. We were locked in a tense standoff. Pointing the gun directly at him, I sternly warned him to leave or face the consequences. His mocking retort only fueled my determination. He dared me to pull the trigger, hurling insults in an attempt to provoke fear. But my family's safety was non-negotiable. My resolve solidified, and I steeled myself for any eventuality. Suddenly, the piercing wail of police sirens pierced the darkness, growing louder by the second. Panic washed over the intruder's face as he realized his fate was sealed. A twisted smile of satisfaction adorned my face as I relinquished my grip on the shotgun, confident that justice would finally be served. In a decisive surge of adrenaline, I tackled the intruder to the ground, employing a full Nelson hold to restrain him until the authorities arrived. Relief flooded through me, knowing that Leslie had heeded my silent plea for help by contacting the police. A rapid sequence of events had left little time for explicit communication, leaving me uncertain if she would make the call. Minutes later, the police arrived, and I reluctantly released my grip on the intruder, surrendering him to their custody. Gratitude washed over me as I realized the gravity of Leslie's actions. Despite the delayed response during the previous incidents, she had acted swiftly in this critical moment. Nevertheless, our relief was tinged with a lingering unease. We knew that obtaining a restraining order could only provide a limited sense of security. If the man were to be released from jail or if he had already been released, nothing could entirely prevent him from returning. Our peace of mind remained elusive, and the specter of his potential return haunted our thoughts. Leslie and I were determined to leave this house of horrors behind, but the path to relocation proved more arduous than anticipated. Leslie had exhausted most of her savings on the down payment, leaving us financially bound to our current residence. We were forced to endure the uncertainty, clinging to the hope that we would eventually find a way to move on and rebuild our lives in a safer environment. Family remained our unwavering priority. The harrowing encounter served as a stark reminder of the lengths we would go to protect our loved ones. As we navigated the aftermath of this chilling experience, our bond strengthened, fueled by a shared resilience and the unbreakable commitment to safeguarding our family's well-being. In the face of adversity, we stood united, prepared to confront any future challenges that lay in wait. Determined and unwavering, we refused to let fear dictate our lives. And so, with a mixture of trepidation and hope, we held tight, bracing ourselves for what lay ahead. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, as we persevered in our shared goal of finding a safer haven for our family. During that time, we took every precaution to fortify our home against potential threats. We installed a state-of-the-art security system, reinforcing doors and windows, and even adopted a vigilant neighborhood watch approach with our neighbors. The tight-knit community rallied together, recognizing the importance of unity in the face of adversity. As we delved deeper into the history of our Indiana home, we uncovered more unsettling tales that added weight to our decision to leave. Whispers of inexplicable occurrences, unexplained disappearances, and the dark past that seemed to shroud the very foundation of the house only fueled our resolve to escape its clutches. Each passing day became a balancing act, teetering between the familiarity of our current residence and the desperate desire for a fresh start. We scoured real estate listings, attended open houses, and explored potential neighborhoods that offered the promise of safety and tranquility. It became our shared mission, a relentless pursuit of a future untethered from the horrors of the past. Meanwhile, the legal proceedings against the intruder progressed slowly. He was found guilty and sentenced to imprisonment, offering a brief respite from the constant threat that had loomed over our lives. However, the lingering doubts and fears persisted. We knew all too well that prison walls were no guarantee of permanent safety. Amidst the tumultuous search for a new home, Leslie and I found solace in our unwavering bond. We leaned on each other for support, finding strength in our shared determination to protect our family at all costs. Our love grew deeper, forged in the crucible of adversity as we weathered the storm together. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of searching, we stumbled upon a quaint suburban neighborhood that resonated with our aspirations. It exuded a sense of tranquility and security that we had longed for. With bated breath, we signed the papers, taking our first steps toward a future unburdened by fear. The process of moving was no small feat. We meticulously packed our belongings, bidding farewell to the house that had been both a sanctuary and a source of nightmares. Memories, both beautiful and haunting, were carefully packed away, carried forward into the unknown. As we settled into our new home, a sense of relief washed over us. The weight of the past slowly lifted, replaced by a renewed sense of hope and possibility. We reveled in the simple joys of everyday life, savoring the ordinary moments that had been stolen from us for far too long. But we remained vigilant, knowing that the scars of our past would forever shape us. We vowed to never forget the lessons learned, to cherish our loved ones, and to prioritize our safety above all else. The horrors we had endured had taught us the immeasurable value of resilience and the strength that lay within us. As the days turned into years, the harrowing tale of our encounter with the intruder became a distant memory. It served as a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing each precious moment. Our story became a testament to the power of love, courage, and the unyielding determination to protect what matters most. And so, we embraced our new chapter with open hearts, forever grateful for the resilience that brought us through the darkness and into the light. Our journey was far from over, but we faced the future hand in hand, ready to create a life free from the shadows that once plagued us.